So in my 6+ years in the online business world, I have seen and heard some wild rumors out there about what you have to do to legally protect your business, to grow your business, everything in between. And some of these myths are relatively harmless, right? It's just a little misguided. Maybe you didn't get the right information. But other times, in fact, most of the time, when you reach out to me and ask me a question, it's because you've heard something online or you read something in a Facebook group, saw something on YouTube from a non-lawyer or somewhere in between that is not just wrong, it's actually harmful to you and your business, and you just might not know it. Don't worry, today we're gonna cover all of these harmful legal myths that you might have heard online about running, starting, and growing your own online business, and I will clear them up today so that you leave this video knowing exactly what to do. In case you're new here, I'm Vander Wielen. I'm an attorney turned entrepreneur who helps online coaches, course creators, and service providers legally protect and grow their online businesses using my DIY legal templates and my Ultimate Bundle program. So really, at the end of the day, I teach people how to make sure that they get paid, how they personally protect themselves, how to protect their money, and how to run their businesses successfully online without fear that something's going to go wrong, somebody's going to sue you, everything's going to fall down like a house of cards. There's no need to worry about any of that. We can cover it together. You can catch me here on YouTube each week. Every Monday and Thursday, I drop a new video for you with a legal or business tip. I would love it if you would hit subscribe. Say hi to me in the comments if you're new here. Send along this video to a friend if you think it'd be helpful. Okay, so let's get into the 7 cringiest legal myths that I see online and what you really need to know about them instead so that you can legally protect your online business. So the most common legal myth that I hear about online business is more of like a category of myths, which is what I call the it can wait myth. So it can wait to register your business. It can wait to get business insurance. You can wait until you have contracts, right? You can wait until you hire somebody the right way. I have heard all of the myths about waiting. And then when it comes to waiting, I've heard all of the variations of those myths like, don't I have to make $10,000 first before I register my business? Or I don't even have to pay taxes until I make $10,000, right? I've heard everything in between. So here's the deal when it comes to waiting, when it comes to legal protection for your business. I think the most important thing for you to know is that you do not get retroactive legal protection, meaning that you really only get legal protection in your business from the time that you establish something moving forward, right? So if you get an LLC, all the clients that you work with after that will kind of fall under the legal protection of your LLC. If you get a legit contract, only your future clients or the clients that you have signed that contract moving forward will be protected by that contract, meaning that you get paid, you can protect yourself from getting sued, you can make people show up on time and respect your boundaries. But everybody from before then wouldn't be covered by that kind of stuff. Same goes for things like business insurance, right? So when we're talking about waiting, it never really makes sense from the timing perspective because it's not going to apply later. It's not like you can retroactively apply that protection. I think another important element to know about this is that there is legal vulnerability whenever you start your own business, regardless of how much money you make, how many clients you work with, how successful you are, how many Instagram followers you are. And so I think that sometimes people think that either they can like fly under the radar or they unfortunately fall under the even more dangerous myth that somehow you don't get in trouble unless you're profitable or have lots of clients. And so none of that really applies, right? So I was a litigator when I was an attorney. I was constantly before judges, and I always have, a little bit of a laugh to myself thinking there would never be it would never be an excuse for me to stand before a judge and say, but Your Honor, she wasn't that profitable, right? That would never count. So unfortunately, that doesn't matter much. Obviously, I know and I respect the fact that waiting often has to do with budgeting, right? First of all, I would encourage you to plan for and prioritize the legal and financial setup of your business as part of setting the business up. So oftentimes people will say to me, I don't have the money for it, but then they're investing in Pinterest courses and email list courses and funnel building and course building businesses, right? So that stuff is all important. And that stuff is part of learning how to build your own business. But this part is not optional, right? This part has to be done. Not only legally, some of it's required, But the other part of it is like, it's required in order for you to be able to move forward safely, right? And for you to be able to work with people safely. So the whole like waiting myth, it just doesn't really make sense. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about waiting or timing when it comes to taking certain legal steps in your business. Let's move on to myth number 2. The second most dangerous legal myth that I hear about running and growing an online business is that if you say it online, it can't hurt you, right? Like if it's free, for example. So if you post something on Instagram, if you host live workout classes, if you are a blogger, if you just create recipes, right? People will think that if they are producing content, and especially content that's free, that somehow this like blocks them from any sort of liability. So the pattern of thought that's at issue there is that we are falsely assuming that you can only get sued for or in trouble for things that we say or do that we get paid for. And that's not the case, right? That's where the myth comes in. So unfortunately, in America, right, we can be held liable for things that we say or do that are even free on the internet, right? Things that you say or do, people can take that, they can go implement it in their life, their business, their finances, their relationships, whatever it is that you help people with. And if they experience some sort of bad result and you don't have the proper legal pieces in place, they can come and blame you for that. Right? So please do not make the mistake of assuming that just because you're putting out content and it's free, or just because you have a website and anybody can visit it and you find that content helpful, which I'm sure it is, that doesn't somehow expose you to legal liability. It does. The third legal myth that I hear most often is, oh, I don't need an LLC. I have business insurance. Or I hear, I don't need business insurance. I have an LLC. So it's the myth of it's either business insurance or LLC, right? That is a huge mistake because these are two very separate and distinct things. I have other YouTube videos on LLCs. I have other YouTube videos on business insurance. So we'll make sure that we link to those here. But it is really important for you to know that these are very different things. And that's why we are not choosing either an LLC or business insurance. So just for a quick overview, business insurance is what you get, first of all, in the name of your business. So you already have to have a business registered. And it's what financially protects your business. So business insurance provides you with a business defense attorney and pays a judgment or settlement that's found against your business if your business is sued for something that's covered by your business insurance policy. Your LLC, for example, on the other hand, is something that personally protects you, right? So it's a business entity type that you form, and it provides you what's called limited personal liability to separate you and your business so that you over here are a person and this over here is your business, and one is not vulnerable to the other, right? Meaning if your business got sued, you personally are not being sued if you set up your business correctly and run it correctly. So it's very important to understand that an LLC and business insurance are not an either or scenario. These are actually two things that work really, really well together. And I'm going to give you a free resource at the end of this video on a place where I go much deeper in explaining how each of these work to legally protect you and your business and your money. The fourth myth that I hear so often, and it's one that I just want to, because I understand that it comes from a good place, but so many of you will reach out and say, I don't understand why I have to keep my business money separate from my personal money. I'm really good at keeping track, right? I get it. I'm so glad that you are good at keeping track of things, but there's one, just like no matter how good you are at keeping track of things, these need to be separate. And as your business grows, the whole goal here, I would hope, is that you're going to have so many financial transactions that you're not going to be able to keep track, right? That's always the goal. And that's just like a personal preference. But there's actually a more important legal reason why you have to keep them separate. So if you have an LLC, for example, it is actually a requirement that you keep separate, clean, detailed financial records, organized financial records that you can provide records of, that you can provide clean books, right? Bookkeeping. You actually have professional bookkeeping done for your business. That can be done through something as simple as QuickBooks. It doesn't have to be too fancy, but you do have to have clean records. So we don't want to be looking through our American Express bill and being like, okay, yeah, that was that trip to Costco, but that was just like a toilet paper peanut butter run. But yeah, oh yeah, then this is where I got the printer software and that the printer ink. not software. And that's the business expense, right? Oh, and then there's that time I went to Applebee's. Was that a business thing or not? I can't remember because it was a month ago. We don't want to do that, right? Also, I have not been to Applebee's in years, since high school. So it's a super random example, per usual. Anyway, the whole point is that it's actually a legal requirement, right? So people always try to fight me on this and they're like, I'm really good at it. No, it doesn't really matter how good you are at it. You have to keep separate. It's not really that big of a deal. Open up 2 different accounts. I teach people every single day how to open up the best business account. I teach people this in the ultimate bundle. I teach you how to make sure that you're not paying any fees and what questions to ask and all of the features that you really want out of one. It's really not complicated. We've probably had more time having this conversation than it would take you just to set it up. The 5th myth is what I call, I don't believe in contracts people. So sometimes I see people, especially on Instagram, and people will always tag me in this stuff saying, I don't believe in contracts. I just go with my gut. I go with energy. That's wonderful. But first of all, contracts aren't that scary, right? And you are participating in contracts all day long, whether you know it or not, right? Every time you log into Facebook, you're agreeing to their terms. Every time you swipe your credit card, you're agreeing to their terms. Every time you go to a baseball or a football game, you're agreeing to the terms on the back of the ticket or when you purchase that ticket. We agree to stuff all the time. Those are all contracts, right? It's really not that crazy to ask somebody to sign a contract when you have a fair, simple, and straightforward contract. Like my DIY legal templates are both on my website and in my Ultimate Bundle program, right? They are meant to protect both people. And I think that's something that's often lost in the coaching community is that when people say, I don't provide contracts, I don't believe in contracts, you're also not providing your customer the opportunity to be backed by a contract either, meaning that you could not show up, right? So they could pay you all this money and then you skip town and now they don't have a contract. That might not make somebody feel confident enough to sign up to work with you. That could be an issue, right? But I think that there's another part of this myth that's baked in here in that people think that if they don't sign contracts or they keep things hush hush off the books, that somehow that protects them from legal liability. It won't, right? So if somebody works with you and they never signed a contract, they can still sue you. It's not like they can't come after you because they never signed a contract. So if you think that you're hiding something or avoiding something, I would really encourage you to, first of all, just listen to this video and know that you're not getting away with anything. But if you're more on the side of being afraid to send these off, I would encourage you to leave a comment below because I've got lots of resources for you on talking to clients about sending contracts and maybe working on some of the mindset stuff that's coming up for you around feeling like you can't ask for what you're worth and just set simple boundaries that are very fair and straightforward. So I would encourage you to dive into that part of the conversation a little bit deeper if you're feeling that. And that rolls us into myth number 6, which is that contracts scare people off. I can tell you, I have thousands and thousands of customers, and no one has ever said to me that they have sent out a contract and that it scared people off. In fact, it's been exactly the opposite, where people have reached out to me and said that people felt so much better. They felt secure in the relationship, knowing that the coach or the service provider was going to show up and that person, that's what they were paying for in exchange, right? So it's a completely fair agreement. Contracts shouldn't be super one-sided or scary, right? That's not at least my goal whenever I'm creating legal templates. It's to make sure that, you get paid as the business owner, that your boundaries as a business owner are protected, but also that the other person knows that they're getting what they pay for. This is also why I think it's important for you to have just a basic and working understanding of what your contracts say. And that's why I don't like when people use copy and paste documents because A, they could be terrible, and B, you have no idea what they say, right? So when I sell my legal templates, everybody gets a how-to video tutorial where I actually walk you through how to fill it out and explain to you what it means so that when your client says, hey, Sarah, before I sign this contract, could you just tell me why is this section in there? And you'll be able to have a totally calm, normal conversation with them about what that section does for you or for the both of you or just for your client, right? I'll also teach you exactly which provisions are, those that can be thrown in the garbage and which ones absolutely have to stay in there to protect you. So that's why it's important to have a little bit of a working understanding of the contracts that you're sending out. Last but not least, the seventh myth I hear most often is stuff that falls under the umbrella of like, there are no rules. It's the online wild, wild west. I can do whatever I want, right? Nobody's coming to shut me down, or like, there's no definition of what a coach is. There's no definition of a health coach, so I can do whatever I want. Overall, the biggest part of this myth is that people assume, first of all, falsely, that there are no rules, which there are, right? There's the Can't Spam Act, there's GDPR, there are privacy policy rules, there are contract laws on the book. There's all kinds of stuff, right? There's consumer laws, fair practices, there's even refund laws in many states. There are so many things just off the top of my head that do exist in concrete terms, and they do apply to you as a business owner. I think the other part of this is falsely assuming that if there's not a direct law or something that speaks exactly to who you are and what you do, that it's like open season. That's not really how the law works. So the way that the law works would be that they would find something and apply it to you. I also think that people tend to forget that if you, for example, are a health coach or basically anything other than a licensed health professional, and you're offering out medical advice or something like that, because you think that it's not defined, and so you think that you're allowed to say whatever and do whatever. I think that people don't understand that they will be accused of the unauthorized practice of medicine, nursing, chiropractic, whatever it is, right? So don't make the false assumption that just because your specific niche as a coach is not defined, that means you can do whatever you want. What it means is that you would probably be accused of the unauthorized practice of whatever it is that is licensed, right? An accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. So it's really important that we just learn our scope of practice, we stay within our scope, and we make sure that we're working with people and talking and writing about things online that we're allowed to do, right? I actually go much deeper into that in my free legal training called 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business. It's a free 1-hour legal workshop where I teach you my 5-step strategy to legally protect and grow your online business using contracts, protecting your website, learning how to form your business, learning how to act like an LLC. That's where I go deeper into that business bank account issue that I was talking about earlier, and even how to stay within your scope of practice. So you want to click on the link below in the description below to watch my free legal training. And before you go, make sure you've hit subscribe so you see all of my videos, and say hi to me in the comments, letting me know if this video was helpful. It's so helpful for me to get feedback from you so that I keep making videos that you want to see. With that, thank you so much. I'll see you next week.